per capita with CSAM.
Come on. They're going to fact check
you. You can talk numbers. White men disproportionately represent CSAM and violent crime.
Murder rate and violent crimes disproportionately represent
you believe in
1350?
All right, we're going to have to pause here, so I'm glad you guys took a pause. You have been voted out. Thank you so much.
Give me 10 minutes.
She's making up stats.
If you would like to be the next debater, get to that chair in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Everything I heard, everything I've listened to thus far, I think you're full of shit. You're a police officer.
No, give me an example of what I said that wasn't true.
Let me get to it.
Give me something I said that wasn't true.
I don't think anybody here would disagree that good policing is bad. We're talking about bad policing. We're talking about bullshit policing. We're talking about the kind of policing that puts gentlemen like you and me in prison for unjust crimes. You like to cite that you're a police officer. Let me cite my professional background.
Let
me cite my professional background.
I have been in that profession.
10 years writing policy in government.
You weren't a police officer.
At the local and state of California levels. And
you never arrested anybody.
You didn't write policy. I did.
I enforced the law.
So, okay, I write the law.
You don't enforce the law.
You don't enforce the law.
You
don't enforce the law appropriately.
You just made it up.
You like to use one-offs. Let me use a one-off.
You don't need to use one-offs. You just made it up.
In the city of San Diego, there was a black police officer that sued the San Diego Police Department.
Anecdotal.
With regard to, I mean, bro, all day you've been coming up with me. Now
I got statistical data points. Where do you want to go?
Like, I need you to keep that same
black
energy,
people commit
I need you to
over
keep
half
the same
of all
energy.
violent crimes.
And that's the problem with black conservatives like yourself. You don't know how to keep the same energy.
You're just talking emotionally.
It was me. Well, I'm trying to give you facts.
Hey, come on with it.
You supposed to be a police officer. Hold your head, bro. Hold your head. You interrupted everybody, bro. I got
You're here to
2-3
debate me.
minutes.
I'm not here to listen to you talk in circles.
But you talking like you was a state trooper, you was a Secret Service.
I know cops all across the country.
But I did too.
I know policy. I know all
do
that.
too.
I get to your point.
You don't know policy because you never written one.
We're talking about policing in the black community. We're not talking about policy.
I want to hold you to account because police officers like you don't like accountability. So I want to hold you to account. I'm trying to get my story out, and if I can finish my story.
This is not story time, man. The point is police do more good.
The point was
police do more good.
The point was with regard to training, the San Diego Police Department showed a video training officers of that department depicting black people as primary perpetrators of crime. That's not true. My last guy that was just up here, who commits the most crimes in America? It's white people. Name me the last black mass murderer in America.
What is that?
That shot up schools,
it happened in
malls.
the hood every day.
I didn't ask about the hood.
That's
murdering.
Mass shooting, bro. Go to Chicago on the 4th of July.
What's the definition of a mass shooter?
It's a mass shooting.
What's the definition of a mass shooting? 2 or more people
shot. It's a mass shooting, according to the FBI. I could tell you to go to any inner city in the United States of America and go just this past weekend, and you've seen multiple mass shootings that occurred in that community. I don't know them by name.
I can cite you Columbine. I can cite you Sandy Hook.
You're talking about a shooting isolated at a school. We're talking about violence. We're talking about murder rates. Black people commit over half of all murders in this country. Is that true or not?
That's not true.
That is true. What are you saying?
All right, we do have to pause here.
Black people commit disproportionate amounts and over half of all violent crimes in this country.
Okay, Officer Tatum, both of you guys, we have to stop here because you have been voted out. Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to be the next debater, get to that hot seat in 3, 2.
I think that's disingenuous because they have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. This is the first time they've heard these things. He's already been on that side. We're black still. Like, we're still been raised in this culture. We know these points you're talking about. This is the first time you're hearing this from us. Yeah.
1.
All right, what's up, bro?
I would argue that the resources, that the cost of hiring a police officer could be significantly better used in revitalizing the black community rather than affording more cops. As you've seen in the city of New York, when they increased the amount of funding they're putting in schools, when they increased having childcare for people, when they increased training for people to get jobs, they saw the lowest crime rate that they've seen in years.
Right, this is where I think we can agree on. Less we got to walk and chew gum at the same time. As we see resources provided and crime go down, then we can begin to shrink the availability of law enforcement in that said community. You don't do one before the other. You can't just say, I'm gonna take resources from the law enforcement officers. Crime will go out of control. If I was to concede to your point, we need to see these crime statistics begin to decrease. Therefore, you can justify decreasing law enforcement. You cannot think that because you build a park, that somebody ain't gonna be shooting and acting a fool in the hood. That is a generational thing that's gonna have to happen. And right now, we still got people out today that don't give a F about a park. We've seen plenty of cases that people have built incredible schools, they built parks, roadways, availability to activities for people, and they still out here cutting up. And a lot of it is the way people are raised, the culture that people are embracing. And I would argue that Black people are embracing that wasn't even Black culture to start with. Those things need to be addressed, and they are the most detrimental to the Black community than even funding and defunding police.
And I hear you, but I still agree that
All right, we're gonna have to pause here. I'm so sorry. You have been voted out by the majority. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
So,
I just want to take a second to acknowledge that you're being roasted and you're being very polite about it. So thank you for that.
I'm doing what?
I say you're getting roasted right now, but you're being very polite about it, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you for your conceding to my arguments. Okay.
I wouldn't say that, but okay. So you're familiar with broken window policing, right?
I'm familiar in part.
Yeah, just for people that don't know, it's just the uniform enforcement of both significant and insignificant laws, right? And I think we could both agree that there are laws in this country that shouldn't exist, right? Or just
give me an example, because I can't concede to it if I don't know what you're talking about.
Marijuana, right? Like in the state of Texas, if you're caught with marijuana, you can be a felon, right? I think we can both agree that that's dumb.
I don't agree to that. I mean, people vote on it and they'll pass what the majority believe. I don't agree to that.
Sure.
I think in some cases marijuana should be illegal. I think medical marijuana should be legal. I mean, obviously.
Well, yeah, sure, but based all marijuana, but I think we can both agree that if you have like a felony conviction, that stunts your ability to earn and provide for your family, right?
Yeah, you knew that before you committed the felony, right?
Yeah, but like I think certain laws. Well, first of all,
you're talking felonies. You're not talking misdemeanor. Felonies are very intense things that you do that cause you to get a felony. It's not just having weed on you.
Not exactly. Because if you're caught with a wax pen, right, that can be considered a felony equivalent to if you had like cocaine or something like that.
Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah,
but
depending on the state.
If that's the case, but you know that before you,
as well.
You know that before you do it.
Sure.
And so you make the decision. You make the decision. Everybody in here make decisions. They're not going to do that because you don't want a felony on your record because you want to be successful and be able to get a job. Is that fair?
But that's
personal responsibility.
But let's interrogate the central claim. You're saying that police in Black communities do more good than harm, right?
Exactly.
So if you're caught smoking a blunt on your porch and you become a felon for the rest of your life, and then you're relegated to like being like doing menial labor for the rest of your life, right? When you could have had a lot more prospect, isn't that the police causing more harm to your life?
No, it's just don't smoke weed and you won't have to worry about the police.
So are the laws enforced equally across the races?
It is.
No. They're not.
What's your proof? What's your proof to that?
So Black people in this country, right, are statistically found to have been given larger sentences for the same crimes compared to their white counterparts.
See, let me give you some more information to give you a better perspective. A lot of it is because people have committed multiple crimes before they get to the final crime sentencing. Yes, it is.
Even for first-time offenders.
Give me an example. Where do you see, now here's what, and everybody should acknowledge this, where do you see in this country a judge, this judge gave a white person a different sentence than a Black person in that same courtroom?
Statistically, you can still see that minority offenders are given harsher sentences for the same crimes compared to the white counterparts.
And a lot of times it's because they already have previous charges. I'll give you an example of people that's in my family. Sure. You know, 2 people that I know, I'm not going to say what position they're in my family, got 20 years in prison for armed robbery. 25 years in prison for armed robbery. The reason he got 25 years is because he had already committed a robbery. He got 5 years before that. Another one of my cousins got 75 years in prison for shooting 3 people. The reason he got 75 years, and some people didn't get that, because he had already been a prohibited possessor. He was already a convicted felon, and he had drugs in the car. Those contributing factors is what lead many Black people who already have a criminal record to being sentenced at a higher rate. You cannot find a judge that gave a Black person a higher sentencing than they gave a white person. If you find that judge, I think everybody in here will be against that judge. And I would march and protest a judge that we can find doing that. You won't find it.
All right, we're gonna have to pause here because you've been voted out by the majority.
Thank
you so much. If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair. In 3, 2, 1.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
Let's have some fun. I want to approach this from a place of curiosity because the thing that troubles me about a lot of the way you structure your arguments is that it seems to suggest to me that you perhaps believe that there's some moral deficit that Black people have that inclines us to commit more crimes.
I don't believe
and I
that.
guess my question is, what do you think that moral lack is?
I don't really think it's I don't think it's a sweeping generalization that every Black person somehow is born inherently evil or inherently a criminal. I think that there's different things that do cause people to fall down a path of committing crimes, which is what their fathers did and what their mothers did.
One might say context and systemic racism. Or
I
no?
don't think it has. I think it had much to do with racism.
No.
I don't think it has. Like for instance,
Okay,
we can isolate criminal activity that happened in the Black community that has no hand or involvement from white people.
Yeah.
You know, a young man deciding to grab a gun and do a shooting has nothing to do with white people. A young man having sex with 5 and 6 women, getting them pregnant and not standing up for his responsibilities has nothing to do with white people.
See, but when you tell stories like that, it seems to suggest that you're saying that Black people are responsible for all of that versus these isolated incidents, these mythical isolated incidents that you're bringing up. I guess
I'm saying it's
the
personal
question-
responsibility.
Yeah, so you're saying
there's no white man there.
There's an epidemic of personal responsibility inside
Yes,
the Black community.
I agree with
How
that.
do you measure that?
By looking at the effects of it, looking at what Black people are doing over time.
So earlier, people have come up and given you a vast number of statistics that indicate systemic racism, inequality,
didn't.
poverty, education. It's happened over and over again. Yet you
They
claim Black
start-
people have an epidemic of personal responsibility, but you can't give a single statistic that indicates that.
They
How do you
have
measure
an
that?
epidemic of personal responsibility. You see the outcomes.
Is it the rap music?
If that's one indicator.
Yeah.
Is
It's
there
rap
not-
music.
Is rap music?
Let the bodies hit the floor. Who wrote that song?
Let me give you an example of why this is different. Let me give you an example of why this is different.
Come on. Let's talk about rap.
And I'm gonna tell you how it has a negative effect on Black people.
Yeah.
White people actually listen to rap music way more than Black people do. They purchase it more.
Mm-hmm.
But Black people are living the stuff that's in the music.
Mm-hmm.
White people fantasize of what it may be like to run up on your op and shoot somebody and kill them
Ooh,
and go
spit
to
those
prison
bars. Come on.
and selling dope in the hood to your own people.
Yeah.
Black people are living it. It's a reality and
Yeah.
it's reinforced. You cannot tell me
I've
that
listened
that's
to
not a form of brainwashing.
I've listened to a lot of rap music. You know what I've never done? Shot up a school.
What does a school guy do anything?
I think you try to create this
Are you
image
saying that there's no?
this is what I mean by you seem to
Are you
suggest
saying
that there's a
no
moral
negative?
lack.
No, you're saying that there's no
there's
negative.
some kind of lack that causes us
There's
to be
no
more prone to
negative-
violence, but you don't
Are you-
acknowledge any of the historical
Are you
context.
saying that
in the
there's
environments that
no
we're in.
negative effects of brainwashing yourself about killing your brother and sister and listening to that on a day-to-day basis? There's no negative effect in that.
Right? Why are you posing this as a uniquely Black thing? This
Because
is like when you make the
Black
argument that
people
like violence has been a part of art all the time. I write for a living. You know who glorifies violence? William Shakespeare. You know who glorifies violence? Quentin
Oh, no,
Tarantino. You don't
who's-
see anyone talking about, oh my God, this is responsible for all the white on white crime, even though there are more white criminals in America than
nobody's
any other
saying-
race.
We're talking about Black people.
Yeah.
Do you think that Black hip hop music, rap music is detrimental to the Black community?
No.
You think it has no effect on
No.
the psyche of a young man listening to that every day?
No. It's that simple.
I disagree with you on that point. I think here lies the problem.
How would you validate
Because
that?
young
How would you
people-
prove that?
well,
what can be proved is a correlation between poverty and crime, and that can be traced systemically through history. And this goes back to all of the arguments we've made about wealth accumulation, how Black people have been prevented from having that.
Now, how can you associate that to white supremacy?
How can I associate
That you-
white
that you-
supremacy and generational poverty? Do you think wealth is inherited?
In part.
Yes. So do you think poverty is inherited?
Majority
too?
of people who are successful in this country do not get passed on generational wealth. A lot of people who are very successful came from nothing. I would argue that almost every Black person who is successful came from nothing,
Yeah,
which is an
and I
example
think
of why
this is-
capitalism
so-
works.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to one of the most conservative high schools in America. It is a very alluring and deceptive delusion to believe that because you live in circumstances that are different from the rest of Black people, that somehow you are special.
What do you mean? You're saying that
I mean,
if you
that,
work
I mean
hard
that
in
this,
this
is the
country,
way, this is the way earlier that you suggested,
work
like,
hard,
oh, here's
you
my
don't commit
example of someone
crimes.
who escaped poverty, and that means that everybody has access to that.
No, I'm not saying not every white person has access
So then you
to
acknowledge
it.
that there are forces that
I'm saying
operate
there's-
against Black people that are unique to Black people. And where do those come from?
think a lot of it comes from the actions of
The
black
epidemic
people.
of personal responsibility that you can't indicate how.
Are
that
you
exists.
telling me? So, are you a successful man? Consider like
I'm doing my
generally
thing. I'm
speaking?
doing my
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, did you go to school?
I got
Did you-
incredibly
are
lucky.
you educated?
I got
No,
incredibly
no.
lucky.
Are you educated?
Yeah.
Okay. What decisions did you have to make to get to the point that you're at?
Okay, if we want to talk about education, we want to talk about the difference in funding between schools in black neighborhoods and white neighborhoods.
No,
like if you're
funding. I
Yeah.
went to probably one of the poor schools in my school district.
Yeah,
That didn't make the difference of whether or not I did my homework or not.
Yeah, this is the thing where I think you're convinced that you're special.
I don't think that
Yeah.
inherently because the color of my skin that somehow I'm behind the curve against white people.
Yeah, Harriet Tubman escaped the plantation. A lot of people didn't. Is it the fault of all those black people that they couldn't escape?
I don't get your point there.
The point that I'm making is that people live in dire circumstances, and every once in a
Well,
while, someone can break
that's
out.
not-
and
but
that is
that's
not,
not-
and that's not an indication that the system
Black
itself
people
is not
don't
corrupt.
live in a world where every now and again, the majority of black people live in the middle class.
Yes, but a lot more black people live in poverty than any other.
we
Than
don't
any other.
disproportionate, and a lot of those are because of decision making. When you have children,
Yes,
and you're
so,
not
and
married,
this is why I'm saying that I think you
these
think that
things-
black people have some unique moral deficit.
we
because
are
you're saying that there's
falling-
an epidemic
I
of
think that-
personal responsibility
I
in
think
black
that-
people, but you can't prove that.
I
And yet we
think
can
that-
prove that systemic
you
racism
cannot
exists,
prove
but
that.
you don't.
You're what you're
Yeah.
doing is you're assessing or
When does systemic
associating
racism stop
racism.
in America? When does systemic racism stop in America?
I don't think there was real systemic racism.
Ever?
And-
Keep going. Please keep
All
going.
right,
I would love for you to go for the rest
I
of this
don't
time on
think
that.
I do not
Tell me-
believe
yeah.
that there's been systemic racism
Yeah.
in America that's been the primary reason why black people cannot succeed.
Right, but you can't prove that there's an epidemic of personal responsibility.
It
But
has-
you can prove that there's
I
an
think that
epidemic of
when-
systemic racism.
No, look.
And
if-
that's why I'm asking you,
if
when
you're
did it
co-
stop? Because theoretically, that should be the
Are you
moment when
saying
we're all equal.
are you saying that black people are not responsible for the decisions that they make?
I'm saying everyone has agency. Everyone commits crime.
Exactly.
Everyone does everything.
Exactly.
But people have had to
So
live in different
therefore,
circumstances.
if you do the right things like you did, you have an opportunity to be successful, which is equal to just about anybody else, no matter what color you are. You think white people are better than you?
No, but I worry you do.
Why do you think I do? I'm the one
this is
that's
why.
saying that
Yeah.
black people have an opportunity
Yeah.
to be successful in this country just as well as anybody else. You don't believe that. So
Yeah.
you think white people are better than you.
Your prompt perhaps could have been, we should do more to prevent crime and poverty in black communities, right? That's a way of framing the argument that is about
You can say you
solutions
can
and aid.
frame
To
or whatever
say-
you
to say-
want.
to-
You are focusing on, we're talking about black
I'm
people.
focusing on
and you're
language because words are
no,
important.
we're talking about black people and you're
Yeah.
focusing on what white people are doing. So
All right,
who
we do
harm
have
black
to
people more
pause
than
the
other
game.
black
You
people?
guys
How many
more
people who brought
time.
us over are here on boats?
Black
Gentlemen,
sodas?
gentlemen, the time's up now.
That
All
was fun.
right, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Woo.
Nicotine, the ultimate biohacker secret weapon, has made a wild comeback. But why is that clean lifestyle still fueled by big tobacco's chemical-laden slop? For those who switch out LEDs for incandescents, source raw milk, and read every single label, it's time to stop compromising. Introducing Nick Nack, the nicotine solution that actually complements a clean routine. This family-owned company manufactures a superior nicotine lozenge right here in the USA. Affectionately known as a lip brick, this fully dissolvable option is crafted with just 6 premium ingredients, including real essential oils for authentic flavor. There are no pH adjusters, no plastic pouches, and absolutely no waste. Available in 3 and 6 milligram strengths, this is nicotine perfected. Reject the compromise and raise the standard. Go to knickknack.com/surrounded and use code surrounded for 20% off, or use the store locator to find knickknacks near you. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
My next surrounding claim is that black people hurt black people more than any other group.
If you'd like to be the next debater, get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
Hi, nice to meet you.
What's up, really? How you doing?
Great, nice to meet you.
Great.
Okay, I personally think that since we're talking about groups, I think that Republicans, their leadership caused more harm. I think the fact that Louisiana, which has one of the highest murder rates, you're a cop, has one of the highest poverty rates that's run by Republicans. And honestly, with the Voting Rights Act, they just axe the fact that black people can have a voice. So when we talk about like political harm, Republicans are trying to destroy black people. When we talk about economic harm, Republicans, I mean, with the tariffs, with just how we're doing as a country right now, Republicans have axed any way that black people can be able to speak, profit. We can go back to racist policies like redlining that, President Trump has participated in twice. I just don't understand how black people are doing more harm there.
Okay, I disagree with a few things that you've claimed. But what I'm saying is that if you look at, I don't know the ages of everybody in this room, but if you're 25 and under, the leading cause of death for you is being murdered by another black person.
Where?
What do you mean where?
Where are victimizations of black people higher?
In black neighborhoods.
Where? in red states. In Mississippi,
No, no,
Missouri,
hey,
no, right?
Well, not necessarily true. Mississippi as a state,
Yeah.
obviously has majority white people that live in
Yeah.
it. We're talking about cities that are primarily black that are dealing with these issues.
So my problem with this is that whenever we talk about black harm, we're only able to talk about murder rates.
No, it's not just murder rates. I would argue that black people systemically voting for Democrats have been very harmful to the black community.
How?
Well, when you look at, let's start from Martin Luther King all the way on. There's plenty of statistical data points where black people have declined.
Who had-
in the birth rate? Let me
Oh,
finish.
I'm sorry.
In young black people born into single parent homes, black people engaging in employment.
Can I talk
and mind
about
you, hold on one
employment?
second. Let me get
Yeah.
get to point by point.
Yeah.
And this entire time, black people have been consistently voting for Democrats, which I argue is hurting the black community.
You went to employment, right? So let's talk about unemployment. Who had the lowest black unemployment?
What you mean? Who had
Who
what
had what
administration?
president? Yeah, what president?
Well, Joe Biden did.
Okay, so Joe Biden, the Democrat, right?
Let me explain. The first decline that we saw, which was historic, was under President Trump.
Yeah, and then it was historic under Biden,
and
right?
then it went down under Joe
After
Biden.
a pandemic, right? It was historically low in 2023 at 5.3 or 5.2 for black unemployment, which beats Trump's 5.5, which increased to like a 7.9
Well,
by the end of this year.
Some people can argue that Trump's policies residually rolled over into
Like Trump's
Biden's administration.
like the Tax Cut and Jobs Act.
Opportunity zones help black people. Tax cuts
Is that
do
why
help.
he didn't bring them back and brought them back for rural areas?
Tax cuts do help black people. I don't know if you believe this or
And why
not,
did he
but black
cut those
people do
tax
have
cuts?
jobs.
Why
and
did
they
he-
do rely
I agree.
on taxes being cut.
That's why
to help
Biden had a
benefit-
lower unemployment rate. But when we were talking about tax cut, Biden had a child tax credit that Trump took away, that the Republicans didn't want to put into his 2023 and 2024 year.
I
So
think-
why are the Republicans stopping those tax cuts that you said black people have children that we don't care about?
I think we're getting off track. The premise of what I'm saying is that the ailments that we see in the black community are perpetuated by other black people. Listen, let me say
a way that Republicans are
the drugs that are sold in our communities are sold by us. The
thought it was
crimes,
sold
the
by
crime that is
Venezuelans.
committed in our communities, that's devastating our communities, are perpetuated primarily
So
by
what's your
us.
solution?
Okay,
What should
pause,
black people do?
I can
pause.
give you a
You've
solution.
been voted out by the majority.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one. Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
If you would like to be the next debater, please get to the chair in 3, 2, 1.
How are you?
Good. I'm Zena. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, so black people hurt black people more than anyone else hurts black people.
Okay.
My question to you is why?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that it stimulates from a few different facets, and I think a lot of them are responsible, but for the most part, by black people. When you are not raised in a loving household and you're not protected, you don't have a father in the household. Those things lead to devastating outcomes. Young men doing things they're not supposed to do, like we see in modern society. These young YNs, all of these things are contributing factors to decisions that we make.
Okay, cool. So what you're describing is a byproduct of poverty, right? And what we know under a capitalist system is that poverty compounds over time in history as well as wealth. And what has happened systematically as well as systemically in this system is that black people have been pushed away from wealth creating mechanisms. This has happened for generations, even past slavery. Even if we were to argue that after slavery, nothing else happened. There was no Jim Crow laws, there's no redlining, there's no unequal implementation of the GI Bill. We would still see that like our country has lived under this disenfranchisement of black people longer than it has been free. So my question is, what do you think accounts for like the $4 to $16 trillion that was stolen from black people through slavery? Like where is that equalizing mechanism?
I don't believe that you can say that. money was stolen from black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain. Because money wasn't stolen, opportunities were not there because black people were slaves. It's not a fair comparison.
So imagine
Now,
this: you got 200 people on a plantation, and they're making you millions and millions of dollars, right, a year through their labor, right? So what happens is there's no money to steal because black people weren't granted the humanity
well, you're
to
saying
be compensated
black
for the value
people,
that they created.
well, let's look at it like this. This is an environment and a dispensation of time where slavery was a fact and a reality around the world.
And we live under
So
capitalism, right?
Let me explain. So it's not like it was somehow uniquely.
Oh, it was very
it's
unique
not
to the West.
uniquely in the United States of America.
Chattel slavery?
Majority of the slaves
Do you want to
were in
compare
South
chattel
America.
slavery?
Let me just give you an
to-
example. Majority of the slaves were in South America. You do agree to that. About 400,000 black people
Do we
were
want to
made
focus on
slaves
America
over
though?
time.
Why are we pivoting the conversation? My
We're
question
not pivoting
was
anything. You
what-
got it. You jumping
what-
around.
No.
Let's stick to
I had a
something where
question.
we
Do you
can
remember
have
the question I asked you around 2 minutes ago? I asked you this.
I
What
feel
was
like
the,
you want to be confrontational more than you want to get to the bottom of
I
a
don't.
conversation. You're saying
It's unfortunate that that's the way that you feel about how I'm trying
that's
to
not
approach
true.
a question.
We need to stick to a
What's
point.
the
Are you
equalizing
saying
mechanism? $4 to $16 trillion, right, was the revenue that was created through the unpaid labor that came from chattel slavery.
In my opinion, you cannot judge slavery and act as if black people even had a fair chance in the first place.
That's what I'm
not-
talking about here.
Let me explain. We need to talk in terms of after slavery was abolished, what opportunities were presented
If we
to
do
black
that,
people.
we cut out around 2/3 of the story, right? So what I told you before, right? We live under capitalism. And if we live under capitalism, what we know is a couple things. Wealth comes from capital, and capital compounds, right, value. So what happens is property
Are
taxes.
you trying to
Hold
say
on,
that
hold on.
inevitably black people will never have an opportunity
Mister,
to be successful in
Mister,
America? Is that
I'm
what you're
explaining
saying?
something really, really crucial here
I mean,
that'll
can
help
you
you
answer
with the
that?
point.
Because I think we'll be on
You
the same
can't interrupt
platform.
me when we're not having the same conversation.
I'm
if you're gonna
trying to
interrupt.
get to a
Okay,
point where we can have a
so
real discussion.
If it is the case that property taxes, right, fund our school systems, build them up, okay? And we see redlining literally labeled neighborhoods where black people were living as inharmonious, full of inharmonious racial groups to the point where they couldn't get the mortgage, right? This was what, 60 years ago? Grandparents, parents, right, who experienced that inability to have a home. 2/3 of the middle class gets their generational wealth from properties. Where's this equalizing mechanism? Why do you expect there to be a similar playing field?
Okay, I think we're going to go in circles if we go back in time. What mechanism?
Oh, we got to.
I'm saying that we're going to get to a standstill. What mechanisms are in place today that prevent you from having the same financial success as anybody else in this country?
Does inheritance exist under
No,
capitalism?
I'm giving
No,
you,
no, no,
I'm asking you to answer this
'Cause
question.
I've asked two questions now that were ignored.
What mechanism in place currently prevents you from being financially successful as anybody else in this
The
country?
continuity of private property, right? So I'm
Are you
answering the
not
question.
allowed to own property?
That's not the question here. It's who had access to property.
No,
the problem is,
we know. Let's put it this way, because we're going to get into a argument in circles.
I don't think it's going in circles. I think you're not answering the question.
Here's the thing that we can agree.